Today's topic, we want to talk about how to lose fat without losing muscle. So this is something that I've done in the past. I think, John, you have seen me do it last year. So I'm just going to share how I did it and exactly the game plan. Okay. So this is something that I usually do. Usually anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks before my holiday. So you all can see this, right? John, Brian?
Yep.
Oh, got one more joining. Welcome on board. Okay, so now what do you call this? Okay, so how do you exactly you gonna lose fat without losing muscle? So we're gonna go with wrong. Okay, this is gonna be the holiday prep version. So the overview of this whole thing is that when we are dieting, the last thing we want to do is, after putting all that hard work, working out, dieting, getting your steps in, getting your sleep, so only to end up losing the muscle mass and looking skinny fat, or you just end up like a smaller version of yourself. So what I mean by this is that either A, you look skinny fat, you manage to lose all that weight, but you're still feeling a bit flabby, and then you don't look that toned version that you were looking for. Okay, so generally this usually happens when it comes to crash dieting, when you don't do enough strength training, you don't do the proper work when it comes to retaining as much muscle as possible. This can also happen if your diet too long or you're just not getting enough macros in properly. Okay, so this whole training tonight is going to talk about how exactly we are going to lose all that fat. Okay, and then making sure that you retain as much muscle mass as possible. This is something that I've done. I started out last year when I was planning for my Japan trip, and I tested it with a few of my clients as well, getting similar results. Now, excluding this week, we have exactly 6 weeks until the first week of December. So December, usually for us Malaysians, this is the time where we are traveling. So I'm not saying all of us, but majority of us usually decide on December to go traveling, whether it's in Malaysia, whether it's in Bali, Indonesia, Thailand, or whatever. Usually it revolves around either beach resort or maybe you can go overseas as well if you're going to Japan or Europe, whatever. But usually most of us would like to look better or look good inside when we want to take photos during our holidays. So that's the idea when we take this whole thing. The 6 weeks Minicut started out. So because I wanted to look good during my holidays. Okay, so if you want to talk about health and longevity kind of thing, that's a different type of training we're talking about. So this is specifically we're talking about like prepping for holiday itself. Okay, now like I said, so the question is, how do we lose fat without losing muscle? So this what I did was something what we call a 6 weeks Minicut protocol. Now, it is designed to get fat off as quickly as possible before your body has a chance to adapt to a fat loss phase or lose any muscle. So sometimes, a lot of people, what tends to happen is that past the 6 week mark or past what I call this the 7 weeks or 8 weeks mark, the dieting phase just starts to get to them. So they're becoming a bit too hungry. They're starting becoming a bit more too irritable. Not very fun to be around. But and then you end up like feeling tired. You're not performing as much at the gym. This kind of things usually happens. So usually I find like 6 weeks is like a good sweet spot for you to lose as much fat as possible without rebounding as much. Whereas if you lose like anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks, your body is not enough time for you to to adapt for that fat loss phase. So 6 weeks usually is a nice sweet spot when it comes to dieting for this kind of protocol, the 6 weeks Minicut protocol. So this is what I did experimented on myself last year. So I started out exactly around 102. About 102.2, 102.3 around there. Okay, and then at the end of the 6 weeks Minicut protocol, I managed to drop about around 6 kg. So the weight I was aiming for was about 1% of weight per week. So I created a training program, 6 week training program for this. I created a diet for this, specific diet for this. So this was the this is a bit too early. So this was the end result. Now, after the what do you call this? After the diet was done, the whole point was this diet is for me to look good, and then at the same time, I want to go. I wanted to see if I can go to holiday. I went to Japan exactly for about 18 days and see whether I can retain the progress that I managed to do gain from all this 6 weeks of dieting. Okay, well, you guys already saw the photos, so this is the spoiler alert. So this is the last one before I left for Japan, and this was 18 days later after I left for Japan. Okay, so if it's not under the trained eye, it's actually like barely any difference that you can see. But if you look at under trained, you can see like some subtle difference. But here, let me show you in the form of the data itself. So pre-Japan trip, what happened was I ended with 96.2 kg at the end of the fat loss phase, at the end of the 6 weeks Minicut. So when I came back, I was about 97.4. So there was a 1.2 kg increase in weight. Okay, when it comes to percentage in body fat, there was an increase of 2.2% body fat. But if you look here, there is close to, no difference in terms of progress photos and body measurements. So when I did measure myself, the only thing that was slightly more is that my waist was like a tiny bit bigger, but the rest, everything else was almost identical. So the point I was trying to make is that when you have like a proper strategy, you even though it's like 2 weeks, 18 days, you were still able to maintain the results that you've created in this Minicut as long as you have a proper strategy. Okay. Now, and one thing I want to add is that although there is a 2.2% increase in body fat, the 2.2% increase is not just at my stomach area or my waist area. So when people, I've always said that, and you all should know by now, there is no such thing as a spot reduction. When you go through a fat loss phase, the whole body starts to reduce body fat. Okay, it's just at certain areas, maybe your stomach will start to go a bit lower, a bit slower. But when I gained this 2.2% body fat, it was spread throughout the whole body. So it is almost no difference in terms of and when you look at the progress photos. So when you actually stand on this scale only, when you can see a bit different. So I still have my ab lines, I still have my vascularity. So it is a win. It's still a win-win for me, even after 18 days. And I ate a ton in Japan. Okay. And I only worked out in the 18 days about 4 times. I tried out 4 different gyms. Okay. So how does a 6-week Minicut protocol works? It is a short but aggressive fat loss phase. It lasting no longer than 6 weeks. It cannot last more than 6 weeks because it is aggressive. Because it is aggressive, anything more than 6 weeks, you will start to lose more muscle mass. I have experimented it with my clients, and yes, they have started to seeing a decline in their muscle mass as well. They started to see hunger hormones started to go a bit more haywire. Okay, now, okay, so it's why because your body will start deplete its resources. So when it starts to deplete its resources, it starts to break down muscle more faster than the fat. And then when you get hungrier, and then eventually you start to lose more muscle mass. So you can go aggressive for a short period of time and lose a ton of muscle before this negative side effects kick in, which is why that we put about 6 weeks. Okay, but I have to say that it is not for everyone, because one, it definitely requires you to measure your calories. It has to be on point. Like your calories have to be exactly on point. Your macros have to be exactly on point. So we need to know exactly like, okay, how many grams of protein you need to consume, how many grams of fat you need to consume. Then remaining is on carbs. Then we can adjust with all that data, then we can adjust it accordingly. But if you're someone who's like, no lah, I don't want to, it's too hard to measure calories and all that, then this 6 weeks Minicut protocol, it may not be for you. You can still try it. Okay, I can give you a formula to do it after this. You can still try it and see how it goes. Okay. Anyone have any questions so far? Anyone lost anything? Okay. If you're still listening, drop me a thumbs up in the comment. Well, no one's listening. Okay. Okay. Great. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Right. So, okay. So how do we retain the results? So I've already mentioned it earlier. You need to have an exit strategy. Whether this is the Minicut protocol, whether it's a regular fat loss phase, there must always be an exit strategy. The number one mistake what people do is that the moment they're done with the diet, it's Christmas for them. Okay. They decided to eat like an asshole again. The how they got fat in the first place, they're gonna do the same exact habit. They're gonna eat like nobody's business because the diet is over. That's not how you do it. Okay. So you can eat more, but it needs to be in a structured phase. So this is how the exit strategy works. Okay, so how you exit the fat loss phase is just as important as the fat loss phase itself. So how we do it is going to be about a minimum of 2 weeks in a maintenance calories in order for you to recover from the diet. This is so you hear what I say? It is a minimum of 2 weeks. It can be more. So like what I did about 18 days of maintenance calories before I decided to continue. So I decided, you know what, I wanted to just stay. So I stayed at maintenance calories for a good few months before I decided to go on a bulk. So the importance of this maintenance calories is that we're going to use this period to increase your energy levels back. They'll get you recover, get you out of that diet fatigue. So we're going to restore your hormones back to your baseline. So after like an aggressive diet, you're going to be very, at the end of the 6 weeks, you will start feeling all that fatigue. Your hormones will start to go down. Your testosterone also starts to go down. Your hunger levels, leptin will start to go. If you're not familiar with what leptin is a hormone that is responsible for you to feel full. Okay, and then ghrelin, what do you call this? Ghrelin is the one that is responsible for you to feel hungry. So leptin is so when you eat, if you're not feeling when you're not feeling full, you might be having some leptin resistance. Okay, so if you're constantly hungry, constantly eating food all the time, then your ghrelin is going that ghrelin hormone is going a bit haywire. So you want to replenish your glycogen, restore your glycogen storage so that you're able to perform at the workout better. So how we do this, we increase your carb intake as well. So, and then at this point, so we do all this. It is 2 weeks before you decide whether that you want to continue for another 6 weeks Minicut, or you want to maintain whatever progress that you get. It really generally depends on you at that point of time. Okay. So the timeline is 6 weeks for the Minicut. So the speed is about 1% of body weight per week. Okay. So this is essential. So when I work with my clients, I usually say we are going to aim anywhere between 0.5 to 1% of weight loss average per week. So this is how we keep it like nice and easy, like slow and steady and consistent, so that you're able to tolerate the diet itself. So you're slowly increasing the deficit over the week. But this is a bit more for someone who is willing to, you know what, it's only 6 weeks. I'm going to go hard. Then I'm going to make sure that I can dial in all my nutrition. So if this is something that sounds like you're going to lose about 1% per week, and then this is for you. Okay. So if you're losing slower than your 1%, so you need to either reduce your calories, increase your cardio session, or maybe a mix of both. So an example of this, if you are 1% per week, let's say, for example, I started out at 102. So let's round it up to 100. So I'm aiming for 1 kg of weight loss per week. If you're someone of 80 kg, so you're aiming for anywhere on average, about 800 grams per week. So, and the majority of this weight will come that you're dropping will be from fat, because you're getting the macros right, and then because you're getting the training program right. Okay, so this is the recommended activity level. Now, 4 to 5 weight training sessions. So the strength training sessions. Okay, so you might look at me, you might think, okay, 4 to 5 is a bit much lah. Yes, it is a bit much. Especially if you're not used to working out a lot. 4 to 5 weight training session is optimal in order for you to be when you are doing this aggressive cut. Okay, so what I did and what most of my clients do is that we do about 4 strength training sessions. I still do it to this day, 4 training sessions only this week. 2 upper days, 2 lower days. Okay, and then what I do is additional days, I add cardio days. Now, my cardio days is only 20 to 30 minutes. So I do, it can go up to maybe 40 sometimes if I want to have a longer run, but most of the time it's just 20 to 30 minutes. So those are additional days. So if you're including, so that will be about 6 training sessions. Does it sound too much? Yes, it does sound, it can sound a bit too much because you have 6 weeks and then you want to ensure that you want to lose about 1% of body weight per week. Anything less than that, it is possible. So you don't have to do the additional cardio for sure, but then you might need to increase your daily walks or your daily steps on that day. Okay, but the 4 weight training minimum is essential in order for you to retain as much muscle as possible. 2 things when it comes to retaining muscle mass. It is making sure that your protein is on point. And then second is your training program is on point. You're training close to failure as well. And then you get the muscles are getting proper stimulus, which is minimum 2 times per week for all muscle group. So and then third, of course, getting enough sleep. You don't get enough sleep, then you also lose muscle mass. So that's also key. So your sleep, I forgot to add here, needs to be at least about 7 hours. Okay. If you tell me you cannot get about 7 hours, try your best to get as close to it as possible. And then try to nap throughout the whole day as well. Okay. Because what tends to happen is that if you get like less than 6 hours of sleep, 50% of the weight that you lose tend to be more towards lean mass. So be mindful of that. So that is something that maybe if you have access to an in-body machine, you want to do it consistently on every few days or something, just to make sure that you have your what do you call this? Your muscle mass is not dropped. So I have an in-body machine at home. So I just do it on every day, making sure that my muscle mass is on point. Okay. Now, so coming back to here, so we have about 2 to 3 kilometer walk or 3 to 5K additional steps per day. This is not your total, but FYI. This is something that whatever you're already doing, you want to add additional to it. So if you are, let's say you're talking about steps. So if your current steps, it's only at 3,000 steps per day. So you're pretty sedentary. The only thing you do is just wake up, go to office, drive, park, then go and walk to the office and come back and repeat the cycle Monday to Friday. Okay, so that is something that, so what you want to do is you want to increase your additional steps to additional 3,000 to 5,000 steps a day. So to put it into context, 3,000 steps is roughly about 2 kilometers of walk. So about 1 kilometer usually will take you about 10 to 12 minutes of walking, depending on how fast you walk. So then you pandai-pandai from there. So assuming it's 1 kilometer for you is 12 minutes. So if you're going to work for 3 kilometers, will be about 36 minutes additional in a day. So if you're aiming for about 5,000 to 6,000 steps, so that's roughly about what do you call this? That's 4 kilometers per day. So that's about almost an hour worth of walk per day. So you adjust your steps accordingly. Okay. You guys with me so far? Any feeling lost? Am I all good? All right. John, okay? Yeah? Fantastic. Okay. Now, this will be an example how exactly it's going to work. You're going to start off by finding what exactly is your maintenance calories. How you want to find out maintenance calories? Quite easy. There's a few calculator online. So I have my own ways of doing it. But the easiest way for you to do is either you go to tdeecalculator.net or so an even simpler version for you to do is, let's just say your weight is, let's say, is at 80 kg. If it's 80 kg, then you times it anywhere between 12 to 14. 80 kg, then you convert your body weight into pounds. So if your body weight into pounds would be, let's say, for example, 80 times 2.2 will be 176. So 176 times anywhere between 12 to 14 calories. So if you are a sedentary person, then you might want to aim for 12. So that your maintenance calorie is, if it's at 12, is 2,112. If you are a bit more active, then you want to aim for about 2,464 calories. This is just a rough ballpark for you to start. But if you go, you can go tdecalculator.net, probably a bit more accurate and it's a lot easier calculation for you to do. Mine, for my calculation for me to do is I will take your age, your height, your body fat percentage, your current weight, your fat-free mass, your lean body mass, and do all that rubbish. But you just go to the TDA calculator, it's going to make your life easier. Okay, so your protein intake will be must be 2.2 grams per kg of body weight. So this is, again, to ensure that you retain as much lean mass as possible, so you don't lose your muscle mass. Your fat intake, very important. This will be, anything lower than this will be bad for your hormones. So you want to keep your so your fat intake about 0.7 grams per kg of body weight. And then your carb intake will be the rest of the remaining calories. Now, your maintenance calories, like I said, is you deduct anywhere between 750 to 1,000 calories. Like I said, it is aggressive. Okay, so let's assume we're going to take 750 calories first. Okay, this is an example. So if you're someone who's at 80 kg and I rounded it up, your maintenance calories is at 2,400 calories, just to make calculation easier. So 2,400 calories, you want to minus 750 calories. Okay, so you're left with 1,650, for example. This is going to be your calories during this Minicut phase in your 6 weeks. Now, your protein is going to be at 80 kg times 2.2, which is your protein is going to be at 176 grams, which is also equivalent to 704 calories. 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. This is how you get your calculation. Fat, 80 kg times 0.7 is 56 grams of fat, or 504 calories, 504 calories. 1 gram of fat is equivalent to 9 calories. So this is how you get your calculation. And then the carbs. So what you do is 1,650 calories, you minus the 704 calories of protein, you minus the 504 calories of fat, and you're left with 442 calories of carbs. So 1 gram of carbs is 4 calories, same as your protein. So you're left with 110 grams of carbs. Now, in order to keep this, making sure that you're full, because the carb intake is quite low-ish. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're filled up with a lot of fiber and a lot of food that brings you satiety. So food, when talking about carbs, I'm not talking about like simple bread. I'm not talking about pasta. I'm not talking about white. I am talking a bit about rice, but I'm not talking about like pizza or pastry or something like that. So those are high fat and high carbs kind of food. So when I'm talking about carbs, you want something that is extremely high in satiety. During this time, you want to use something like potatoes. Okay, potatoes has the highest amount of satiety when it comes to all types of food. And then next, you're going to have like a lot of vegetables. You're going to have, so vegetables and fruits have a lot of fiber, so that will help you keep you full longer. And then the volume of the fruits and vegetables are high. The calories are low, so it'll help you give you the energy as well. It'll help you keep you sustained throughout this 6 weeks. Okay, so that is an example of just the Minicut. I will explain the exit strategy after this. Anyone have any question at this point in time? The calculation, is it clear enough or not? Am I missing anything? Brian, Emma? Okay. Brian, still there? Okay, I guess Brian's not there. Never mind. Okay. Okay. So next part. So the exit strategy, once you have gone through all the hard work of that 6 weeks, okay? So we want to go, like I said earlier, we want to go back to the maintenance phase. So I've said it earlier, so the number one mistake is to eat more than your new maintenance calories, okay? When you are lighter, okay? If you started out at, let's say, 80 kg, and then at the end of the 6 weeks, assuming you lose 1%, so 1% is about 800. So 800 times 6 weeks, so you lost about 4.8 kg. So 80 minus 4.8 is about 75.2 kg. So when you are at 75.2 kg, and then when you are at 80 kg, your maintenance calories will differ slightly. Okay, not a massive difference, but it will still differ slightly. So to be on the safe side, So instead of eating back at 2,400 calories, you want to maybe like eat at anywhere between 2,200, 2,300. Or you can do the same calculation I gave you earlier, which was either you go on tdecalculator.net or you do your current body weight, 75.2, times anywhere between 12 to 14, depending on your activity level. So the timeline is at least 2 weeks before you decide what you want to do next, either continue with the maintenance or whether you want to continue with another 6 weeks of Minicut. Okay, so the speed. So there will be an initial increase of body weight due to glycogen and water. It is absolutely normal. You should not be freaking out at this point of time. So this point of time, if you're eating at your maintenance phase, you should not be gaining fat. Fat only happens when you are eating more than your maintenance. So if you are eating at your maintenance calories, you will not be gaining fat. The only thing, your body weight will increase because you're having more glycogen and water. So glycogen comes from carbs. So 1 gram of carbs is equivalent to 3 grams of water. So you can from there. Okay. So you will probably increase anywhere between 0.5 to 2 kg. So it varies from individual. But within that 2 weeks, after you increase that anywhere between 0.5 to 2 kg, your body weight should not change. If it increases beyond 2 kg, then you're definitely eating too much. So you might want to reduce your calories a bit. Okay. So I will show you. I will show you the calculation after this on how to do it. So the recommended activity, if you notice now, instead of 4 to 5, there is 2 to 5. So we want to, in the maintenance phase as well, you are allowed to reduce your what do you call this? Your training activity, because you're no longer in a deficit. So now you're more on maintenance. So maintenance is more forgiving. You're able to be you do less activity to retain your result. Okay. So, and then your walk, however, this is going to be your total in a day. So you want to try to aim anywhere between 4 to 6 kilometer walk per day. So this will be anywhere between 6 to 10,000 steps a day. Okay. So this this is not additional. This is going to be total during that day. Your cardio sessions is entirely optional. You can choose to do it, or you want to do it. Entirely up to you. I did 0 cardio during my 18 days in Japan. The only cardio I did was just walk. I just walk a lot, and that's pretty much it, really. All right, so this will be the maintenance phase game plan. So your calories, like I said, is going to be your new maintenance calories. So I've already given you the calculation earlier. So your protein intake, if you notice now, it is 2 grams, it's not 2.2. So the reason why it's 2 grams is because now we're going to have an increase of carb intake. And carb is has something what we call a protein sparing effect. So when you have a higher amount of carbs, you are able to allow to have a slightly lower amount of protein in order for you to build and retain your muscle mass. And then your fat intake is slightly higher. Like I said, so fat is responsible for your hormones, responsible to increase back your energy levels and everything. So when I say fat intake, make sure that you get it from healthy fat sources. Like we're talking about almonds, we're talking about not like fried chicken lah. We're talking about like the nuts, avocados, your omega-3s, and all that. Okay, KFC. Once in a while, sure. If it was within your calories, why not? But you probably feel like shit after that lah. Okay, so yeah, so the carb intake will be the rest of the remaining calories. So the calculation is similar to how I showed you earlier. Okay, so this will be the example. If you are someone who has 75.2 kg after losing 4.8 kg of that 6 weeks, your maintenance roughly should be about 2,300 maintenance calories. So I just rounded up. Okay, so your protein 75.2 times 2, so 150 grams. So it's less. So just earlier was 176, so now it's 150 grams, which is equivalent to 600 calories. Your fat intake 75.2. Well, I just rounded up to 75 grams, which is equivalent to 675 calories. So 2,300 minus 600 minus 675 calories, you're left with 1,025 calories, which is equivalent to 256 grams of carbs. So with that, is how you exit a diet. So you do this for 2 weeks. You still weigh yourself on a daily basis, making sure that within this 2 weeks you don't exceed a 2 kg mark. So your weight stays the same ratio anywhere between 0.5 to 2 kg. Okay. So yes, so that was how you can get ready for your holiday this end of this month, and how you can do it in 6 weeks, and how you can retain the muscle mass.